Tonight is a somber night. It is a night that we call good. It's Good Friday. And tonight we've intentionally chosen to conduct our service in a way that we may feel the weight of our sin, but also the wonder of our Savior. So tonight what we're going to do, it may be a little unusual, and it's typically not what we're used to. You see, we're going to sit in this tension to feel both of these things, but most importantly, not to celebrate until Sunday. The readings we're going to engage in together are going to find ourselves in the story, but not as the hero, but we're going to find ourselves as the villain. And until we believe that there is bad news, why can we call anything good? You see, Scripture says that God showed His love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And while we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of His Son. You see, that is our part to play. As the sinners and enemies. But we don't want to think about bad news, do we? See, we don't want to acknowledge our own complicity in the cost of the cross. So make no mistake, tonight is going to confront you more than comfort you. But I want to encourage you to sit in that weight, to feel that, to contemplate before you celebrate, to mourn before you rejoice, to fast before you feast. You see, over the next hour or so, we're going to take some time to sing songs and read scriptures, and we're going to have a dedicated time of reflection and thanking. And I beg of you, if this is not the first time that you've ever done this, I ask that you place yourself and find yourself in this narrative. And it says in the book of Hebrews, it says, "Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted." Do you feel weary tonight? Do you feel faint-hearted? My question that I ask of you is to consider Jesus. To consider Jesus on the cross, the hostility that He endured from you, but most importantly, the hostility that He endured for you. Don't let this Friday just be another Friday. I ask that you sit in the tension, and I want you to see why this Friday is called good. And throughout tonight, we're going to use a multitude of different sounds to place ourselves in a more real and true way in this narrative of the crucifixion. Will you please watch this video?
Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they
Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to him, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And he took Peter and 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. And then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." So going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." And then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" He asked Peter. "Watch and pray, so that you will not fall in temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and he prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." And when he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more, and he prayed the third time, and he said the same thing. And then he returned to the disciples, and he said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? See, look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer."
While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached the sword, drew it out, struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him. "For all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen that way?" In that hour, Jesus said to the crowd, "Am I leading a rebellion, that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sit at the temple courts teaching, and you do not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. Those who had arrested Jesus took with him Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of the law and the elders had assembled. But Peter followed him at a distance, right up to the courtyard of the high priest. He entered and sat down with the guards to see the outcome. The chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for false evidence against Jesus so they could put him to death. But they did not find anything, though false witnesses came forward. Finally, 2 came forward and declared, "This fellow said, 'I am to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days.'" Then the high priest stood up and said to Jesus, "Are you not going to answer? What is this testimony that these men bring against you?" But Jesus remained silent. The high priest said to him, "I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." "You have said so," Jesus replied. "But I say to all of you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore off his clothes and said, "He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now you have heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" "He is worthy of death," they answered. And they spit on his face and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, "Prophesy to us, Messiah. Who hit you?" Now Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him. "You were with Jesus of Galilee," she said. But he denied it before them all. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. Then he went out to the gateway, where another servant girl saw him and said to the people there, "This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth." And he denied it again with an oath, "I don't know the man." And after a little while, those standing there went to Peter and said, "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives it away." Then he began to call down curses, and he swore to them, "I don't know the man." Immediately a rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus spoke. "Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly.
Sometimes marriages don't work. Sometimes babies die. Sometimes rehab turns to relapse, and you're left just asking why. And for all the prayers I've prayed, still wonder if he's real. If he is, how is he choosing who he does and doesn't heal? I've tried to run from Jesus, started holy wars, tried the patient waiting and the kicking down the doors. I've cursed his name in anger with my fists raised to the sky. And in return, all he's ever been was kind. And I burned my share of bridges. I learned to tuck my tail and run. Watch the wreckage in the rear view from all the crooked things I've done. And I know that he forgives me, but it's hard to forgive myself. I can't help but think amazing grace is for everybody else. I tried to run from Jesus, started holy wars, tried the patient waiting and the kicking down the doors. I've cursed his name in anger with my fists raised to the sky. And in return, all he's ever been was kind. All he's ever been was kind. And and I know I wasn't there. But when I look up at the cross, I see the darkest day in history. I guess that's what kindness caused. Tried to run from Jesus, started holy wars. Tried the patient waiting and the kicking down the doors. I've cursed His name in anger with my fist raised to the sky, and in return, all He's ever been was kind. All He's ever been stain, he washed it white as snow. 'Cause Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow.
As evening approached, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate ordered that it be given to him. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and placed it in his own new tomb that he had cut out of the rock. He rolled a big stone in front of the entrance of the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting there opposite the tomb. The next day, the one after preparation day, the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. "Sir," they said, "we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' So give the order for the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise, his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he has been raised from the dead. This last deception will be worse than the first." "Take a guard," Pilate answered. "Go, make the tomb as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone and posting the guard. His only Son to make a wretch His treasure. How great the pain of searing loss! The Father turns His face away as wounds which mar the chosen one bring many sons to glory. Behold the man upon a cross, my sin upon His shoulders. Ashamed, I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held Him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. And it is finished. Oh, it is finished. Oh, I will not boast in anything. No gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, His death and resurrection. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid my ransom. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid my ransom. But this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid